Thank you for joining us today. I call the December 12th, 2021 meeting of the Human Relations Commission to order. Let's begin with introduction of the commissioners. We'll start on the right.
Cheryl Schafel, Commissioner.
Turn green.
Barry Nelson.
Matur Alir, the chair.
Cody Severson, Vice Chair.
Ahmed Shill, Commissioner.
Carolyn B. Kraft, Commissioner.
Sarah Boonstoppel, Commissioner.
The next item is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Thank you. May I get a second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carry. The next item is to approve the minute of the November 18, 2021 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Barry. Second.
I second.
Thank you, Amita. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say same sign. Motion carry. The next item is a public comment. Those who wish to address the Human Relations Commission must use the sign-in sheets. The speakers, I don't see anyone. No? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Yeah, in your package is the proposed new vision and mission statement. This was co-write during the last Friday work sessions. We tried to incorporate all the comment HRC members submitted. This mission statement used language directly from the original ordinance, creating the Human Relations Commission. Give that to you. You have that up there. You want a minute to look at it, or can we proceed with? It's up here too. I was there, and Ahmed, Zach, no, Ahmed and Cody. He's Zach too. And with the help of Dr. Terry Hogan. Any discussion?
Yeah, ask a question. So I just had a couple of quick, mostly just like, questions, but that aren't terribly deep. The first one was the language in the mission statement that uses conciliation and mediation. These are legal terms, and I just wanted to make sure that I understood whether we were prepared to engage in like mediation and conciliation as legal exercises, and was sort of concerned that the language might be a little jargony for the populations that we're aiming to reach. But I'm not really totally dedicated to those criticisms. It's just a note.
You want to say something?
No,
Ahmed?
I was just going to comment. I think we had a lawyer in the room when we were talking about that.
We did.
Yeah, we did have a lawyer in the room. And
So-
we had that discussion.
Okay.
Or
So I guess,
attorney, not a lawyer, attorney, right? She is sitting back there.
so
But that is a good point.
I guess I wanted to understand better if that was sort of a thing that we do or will do, and just also whether we want to include jargony language. That's it.
I think that my understanding of like including words like that was just to acknowledge the fact that that if individuals needed that it's still a thing that they can bring to us that we can refer out to, or ask like city administrative staff or just others about how to make that happen for community members.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the jargon probably works. I think as well. Like it at least gives people a framework for what we can do still.
I had to look up conciliation. That's the main reason it jumped out to me. It was like, I need to make sure I understand the difference between these two terms.
Sure.
I do think that's a good point. I had a comment also on the mission statement where it does not, am I missing it? It does not include sexual orientation, gender identity. I mean, is that implied to be included elsewhere?
I think the assumption there was deferring to the recent federal decision that that's included in the term sex,
Sex.
but you can enumerate it if you want.
Well, I guess my comment is I don't know that that's still common perception. It might need to be enumerated until that is in fact incorporated in that. That would be one thought. I noted by its absence and didn't necessarily put it under that term, so.
That was a question I asked at the time when we were doing that. If I asked a hypothetical, where do you find that in that? But I take your point that not all people realize the new terminology and what it includes. And those are issues, so maybe it should be added.
You can ask him.
I guess for me, what it comes down to is sort of who is the mission statement for? Is it our sort of legal commitment to what we're doing, or is it meant to communicate to the people that we want to reach what we're doing? I think I just don't know personally like what the mission statement is aimed at. So if it's a legal statement about what we're doing, then I'm sort of cool with a more jargony and restricted language. But if we're trying to communicate to our community what we're doing, I would just push back on that a little bit.
Dr. Terry Hogan, are you able to comment on that?
To the chair and the board. What we can do, if there are some issues with the current mission statement that you guys have, those who was there that have made the implementation to, we all can get together and just iron this out so that everyone will feel comfortable with the dialogue that is in the mission statement. What about the vision statement? Have you guys taken a look at that?
I like it. No comments on the vision.
Okay.
And I do think that the vision statement, I think, also sort of humanizes that mission statement a little bit also, right? So maybe if I focus on them together, I'm less worried about it.
One of my comments in looking at it originally, in the original vision, was first of all that it wasn't explicit at all, and I was of the thought that we really needed to be explicit about what we were talking about, and what do people, so that anybody that read it would know, specifically. And so if there are terms of art that a few of us know and most of us don't, well, I wanted to have terms that most know, not just a few. So that I had initially argued for being really pretty explicit about what we were talking about. I also have a comment. I think we're going to be the Fargo Human Rights Commission, correct?
Yes.
And it says human relations in our mission here. So
Yes. As a matter of fact, I made that comment during the time that we were going through the process. This is just a rough draft right now. So with that being said, we are going to lean more towards the human rights perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's no worries about that.
But we want to have in the mission that the Fargo Human Rights Commission. right? And
Absolutely.
scratch human relations.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
do we need to have that formally passed though first, maybe, to make that change?
I believe that if we're going to do the mission and the vision statement, I believe is it must be formally passed by this commission. Chair, is that, no?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Kevin.
the idea is to just make that change after it gets passed by city commission. And
That's
that's a pretty quick one, I think, since y'all are already on board with rights. That would be an easy change later on.
Okay?
And two, if you guys not comfortable with the mission, too, we can table it to the next meeting,
Absolutely.
if that's the case.
Or
And
then
then we
again,
can have more discussion about it.
or then again, too, is there a way to set up a special meeting eventually to get this done?
Can we take a
I'm saying
vote on
whatever-
who
There-
wanted to table it to the next meeting?
Dr. Hogan, is there a timeline that you wanted this to get
Well,
done?
you know, the thing is that I would like to make a proposal for the human rights around the very end of this month. However, being is that we're having these, you know, these small issues with the mission statement and so forth, then it might take us into the month of January. But my view is that I want to, you know, just get rid of the bureaucratic process and just get this done as quickly as possible with all of us together.
It would seem that there are some issues, but they're not things that couldn't be worked out quite
Absolutely.
quickly. And,
Just small wording, I believe, is what some of you guys' concern would be, you know, and considering that a lot of this went right through your peers, being as that we have the small wording, you know, it shouldn't take very long to do, so that we can just get the ball rolling, so we can go ahead on and serve the people.
and then with the small changes, couldn't they be sent out to the commissioners just for their comment
Absolutely.
and do that informally and not in a formal meeting? Just say, yes, I agree, yes, or, you know.
Absolutely.
Could we make amendments today?
Okay. That's even better.
I mean, I would let Sarah speak to her issue, but I guess I would, and then we can have a discussion on that, but I would make a motion that we amend the mission to enumerate sexual orientation, gender identity under eliminate discrimination against, that they would be included in that list.
Second. Is any second?
I second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose the same sign. It's amended. Any other further discussion?
Do we also need to make a motion? This is Nancy Boyle. I'm on the conference call. Do we need to make a motion for the name change to human rights versus relations as well?
We did that already.
I think we did
during
that
the
last
session.
meeting.
Yeah, last meeting.
Like I said, you guys are on top of it.
So I didn't realize she was on the phone. Do you have problems with conciliation and mediation?
This,
I do not.
Well, Catlin?
and to clarify, this is Nancy Boyle, one of your HRC members.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Any other amendment?
If there's not a broad concern about conciliation and mediation, I'm okay with that. If I'm not, it's not something I'm going to die on, so it's totally fine with me. It just caught my eye because I had.
Well, we have the attorney here. Why
Yeah,
don't we
The
just-
attorney in the room
ask her.
here too.
Yeah.
She can,
Do you mind commenting on that?
Yeah, please.
I mean, I think it would be okay to have conciliation and mediation included as far as the language goes. I think it would be up to the commission on what exactly your role is, if that's something that you already do engage in with mediation and conciliation. No worries, I had to Google it as well. So it is a different term of art. But certainly it would be fine if that's something that the commission does indeed do.
It's my understanding too that once Dr. Hogan has his office set up and some staff in place, that there would be more of a process put in place to be able to refer people to mediation and to those things. You know, at this time right now, we do not have that capability, but it's my understanding that that capability will be coming.
And that is true.
I think sort of related to that, just to ask you, whether there's just alternative vocabulary that we could use that would communicate, that could communicate this more simply. Do you have any suggestions?
You know, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure it'll come to me, and I will certainly look at some other language too that would maybe be helpful.
But again, this is not something I want to stick on.
I mean, one idea is conflict resolution. It's a little watered down, but it's an idea.
Because I'm assuming you're kind of trying to take a newspaper approach and just keep it more on like a community level education.
Yeah, I guess, I'm looking at this from the position of an educator too, right? Like, would my students understand what's going on with this? And I feel like I would be spending some time defining some key terms, and that's...
But I think you bring up a good point. We, as commissioners, would not be doing the conciliation and mediation. We would be referring,
Absolutely.
we'd be a vehicle to refer through.
We are just a referring body.
Right.
We're not an implementation body. We're not a developing body. So everything that goes forth will be a referral to people who specialize in certain entities.
Then I'm very comfortable with that.
You have any comment?
I just enjoy the conflict resolution. I think that's a great term.
I think it points to that I think whatever we settle on is that, particularly as commissioners, we need to understand what every single word means in this, so that we can explain it when other people question. So I think the conversation is good and important, that we know every A and every the and why it was put into this statement.
And I'll just add that even if it gets included or not, it is in the official ordinance that created the HRC, the words conciliation and mediation. That's where that came from.
That's helpful.
There you go.
All right.
So do we want to vote on, or do we want to table it to the next?
I think I'm okay with...
I move we vote on it.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the mission and vision statement as amended?
So
I make,
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carry. The next item is the staff report. See the written staff report in your package, and let's begin with Dr. Terry Hogan to speak to each item.
Okay. Well, it's not too much to report. The only thing that I want to express is that the Oversight Advisory Board is going to be meeting later on this week, so there's no new development in regards to that. That's number one. Number two is that the MLK Day has been given over to the Human Relations of North Dakota. They're going to be doing the ceremony as of next year. And also, too, there's no awards that will be given out by the city of Fargo. So what we're going to do is that we're going to support them, and they're going to support us in the process of what they're doing. Barry, yeah?
Agreed, yes.
Absolutely. So that's pretty much that for that. But going into the further years, it would be kicked back to the Human Rights Department, and then we will move forward from there.
And why is that?
I'm
Yeah,
confused.
I'm confused too.
Why is it's not being had as of this year by us?
Yeah.
Well, number one is because I am new to the city of Fargo. That's number one. Number two, not sure exactly what you guys have done in the past, but I wanted this particular day is to be the evidence of freedom. And this is in my vision from where I come from and what I do. And this is a very, very important day is that I really need to, in my assessment, is put something together that is very thorough, that I would be happy with, the people of Fargo would be happy with, and constituents would be happy with. And that's why we're not doing it as of now, because I'm new to it, and being that I've been given the reins to do it, I'd rather not just half do anything at this point.
And I think too, our commission here should be happy knowing the process before it is suddenly changed.
Well, it's not a process of a change. It's not a process of a change. It's just me just saying, in fact, is that if I'm going to take the reins to get something done, I don't want to half do it, you know? And number two is that, that this is an important day. I'm gonna leave it at that, is that this is a very, very important day. And it has a tremendous amount of significance for me. And what I've heard in the past, I just want it to be a little more important. I use that term.
And then just to reiterate again, so the idea right now is that the Human Relations Commission just backs up the Human Rights Coalition, and we support the Human Rights Coalition in the MLK Junior Day that's happening next month.
Okay.
And then as of 2023,
It goes back to us.
and then we plan an event for January
Absolutely.
2023. I think is what we're suggesting.
Right.
So I just have a question. What is wrong with how the city is doing now? Like, why are we giving it to Human Relation Commission and then bringing back to human, whatever? I'm even confused with the names, but what is all this back and forth? What is wrong with how we are doing it now?
Well, I can't speak to that because I wasn't here, but from conversation that I have heard and so forth, again, I just feel that it needs to be a little more important on how we celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and what he stands for and his efforts and how he developed and how he implemented certain things. So with that being said, is when they came forth to say, in fact, is that they would like to take the reins and ask, if they could do it. And I was in agreement, being as that I was new to this process, that's number one. And I was agreeing is that not actually knowing what you guys have done, but in regards to the awards and so forth, I felt in fact is that, when awards are given out, it should be given out to folks who have done grassroots work from top to bottom that makes a significance within the Fargo community, So that was my thought on that.
I think Barry, you are part of the Human Relations in North Dakota.
Right.
Can you give us an overview on, does it serve Fargo or broader than that, or?
And this really came out of last year where it was, we were all kind of trying to pivot because of COVID and at that point, the decision was made by the planning group that they were not going to hold an event because of those reasons. And so it was kind of by default. The Human Rights Coalition stepped up and said, no, this is an even more important year to be having an event. So we stepped up. We found some great collaborators in the community who really put the program together. We had a 3-week planning process. And that kind of was the premise for this year, because we felt like we had some really great people in the community who stepped up, who wanted to be a part of the planning and really design it to be reflective of the purpose of the day and the persons of color in the community. And they stepped up again. So we have some really great members of the committee working on it. I think it's going to be a really great event. It's going to be a hybrid this year, both in person and
For sure.
virtual. Yeah, thank you. Live streamed and recorded. The original plan, and it still is, we've also, North Dakota Human Rights Coalition being a statewide organization, we've invited other communities to also have an event the same time. Right now, there's a group working in Grand Forks and Bismarck to have something simultaneous.
So are you guys going to give out a word or no? Was that, no, I recall that right.
I'm sorry, give me that again, I'm sorry.
Are we going to give out an award to recognize those who do good work here in our community?
No, there's no awards from the city of Fargo. There's none at all. Everything has been turned over to
And
the Human Rights of North Dakota.
I guess with that in mind, Barry, will the Human Rights Coalition be giving out their own awards and for MLK Junior Day?
I believe the intent is that there will be some awards. This is not my work section, so I can't
Sure.
speak to a lot of detail. I think partly it's being kept low key because they want a couple of the awards to be surprise to the recipients. So that's all I'm going to say.
But
I
there
don't-
are some.
There's
There
some.
could be some that would be evolving, yes.
Okay, so how are we identifying those awards, like the people we're giving
What the
awards to?
process?
Yeah, what is the process?
The committee is working on identifying who they are.
Okay, so this is inside job, the committee will
Yeah,
appoint.
it is inside very much.
Okay,
Will our January meeting be before or after that event?
After that, I think.
So
On
can
the
we just make
17th.
space in our next meeting to also highlight that event then?
No, it'll be after, I think. Our next meeting is the January 20th,
Our meeting is after MLK.
after
Yes.
MLK Day.
So then we can,
Yeah.
okay. But then, so we could take time in our next meeting to highlight whatever happened at that ceremony.
probably, yeah.
Okay.
But I appreciated, I mean, I think still there is the commitment of some support from the city of Fargo, and appreciated Dr. Hogan joining the planning committee this past week. So there's going to be optimum of collaboration between the two groups, and reflecting that there will be visible recognition of the role of the city of Fargo in this event. Use of logo, for example. I'll just acknowledge the two co-coordinators in terms of the planning is Faith for Hope, Hope Fields Dixon and Fred Edwards are the two co-coordinators, and they're tapping into their networks of individuals to be working and being on stage that night.
And so for what it's worth as well, the end of this year has really been getting Dr. Hogan fixed in your spot and growing this role. And so we didn't have the time or ability to plan something or to have the city use their usual planners to create the event next month. And so it makes me happy that there was another community organization that was able to take up the mantle and do something next month for it, especially with those individuals that you just talked about. So I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you,
I was
Dr.
just going
Hogan.
to add as well that moving forward, it sounds like not only has the event been phenomenal before, but really being intentional as we move forward as the city and making sure that event can be the best it can be.
Absolutely.
And then I just a comment. Just wanted to add the importance of recognizing community crossroads and those that do the work in the community. A lot of people go into these areas not for recognition, but the fact that a body like this or the city or the government can recognize the works that they do, it's more of a creating an awareness, whether it's to the organization, to the individuals doing the work. So I would strongly encourage, if it's not this body right here, for some recognition for North Dakota Human Rights to do it, to hand out reward and recognizing and continuing those services. So it wouldn't matter to me who's doing it, but as long as those are still in existence, it's something really important to the community.
And I think too would also be very important to include members of this community to be part of the process as it was before.
Okay.
I would hope that everyone would promote the event. Everything that can be done to make it safe through the continued pandemic will be done, but Faith declared she wants every seat filled, and Faith gets things done when she says it, but she needs help with others doing it. So I think I would encourage people who wish to certainly attend, but also to be present visibly that evening to help. There'll be lots of things to be done in the evening, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's pretty much all that I have to give my report on.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to follow up on that police advisory. So the citizens, the citizen recruit, that's already done?
No,
No, okay.
no. As a matter of fact, that
There is someone.
we're going to have a meeting, another follow-up meeting, I want to say next week. And this is where we are in the process of putting the questions to the individuals that are seeking to be part of this advisory committee. And if all goes well, hopefully in January, yes, please come on. Hopefully in January, we should have everything probably.
The meeting that's next week will go over making sure that everyone that has the application to be on the committee is approved, and then we are intentional over the next couple of weeks to make sure that we are advertising the applications and as far and wide as possible to get as many applicants as possible, with the ideal hope that the commission is up and running sometime no later than February, March at the latest, depending on how well and how many applicants we get so that they can be streamlined. And then also on top of that, there is an expectation for onboarding and training, and we'll need to accomplish that ahead of time, and that'll also be slightly dependent upon the schedules of those that are chosen for the application and the background investigations are complete. So there's a little bit of a time delay, but the next step is moving pretty quickly to get us to the point where we can advertise that the position and the board has been created so people can apply.
And who are the selection committee?
The selection committee for who gets onto the board?
No, who identifies to select the committee?
I guess they're nominations,
The
technically.
nomination.
Yeah.
Who selects the nominations?
Well, ultimately, the selection committee will be made up of Dr. Hogan, the chief of police, the mayor or an accounted individual that the mayor deems appropriate, myself, the chair of the Human Relations Commission and the chair of the Native American Commission, and I believe one other city official whose title I don't recall.
Thank you.
And what's the frequency that board will be meeting in general? Is that like monthly?
Correct. Once the commission is up and running, they will meet monthly.
Okay.
And the thing with that is, let me just add this too. This is a slow and methodical process because we want to get this right. Because this is something that is so important for the city of Fargo. So we're not going to rush through this process. We want to make sure that what we are doing, all T's are crossed and all I's are dotted. We want to get this right the first time around. Okay?
And with that, I guess, so the onboarding and training material for that board, is that like public information as well, or?
The majority of the onboarding will be, because it's a police oversight board, it'll be education of the board members about law, policy, procedure that directly impacts what police officers are capable of doing and why. It'll also be education about disciplinary legal rights and processes within the state of North Dakota, particularly when it comes to even like the legal rights for employment and police officers. It will also talk about civil law and case law. I'm sorry, not civil law, apologies, case law. And so it's going to be very law enforcement specific. And then we'll also be educating the board about the complexities of the fact that North Dakota has one of the most broad open records laws. And so the complexities that brings to this type of organization as well. So all of that will be covered, and then Dr. Hogan will also be doing additional education surrounding bias and all of his expertise and diversity and things like that. So it'll be a culmination of police practices, policy, procedure, law, and diversity, equity, inclusion, race, those types of things. But
Okay, thank you.
it's 40 hours, so pretty intensive.
Wow.
This is why it's slow and methodical,
Yeah.
because we want to get it right the first time. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Do any others?
Can
Yeah.
one other, I just want to hold up one thing. Sometimes we wonder what we do has impact, so I want to hold up number 3. So thank you, first of all, for Commissioner Beecraft for bringing up an issue, and then for staff following through with that, and then seeing some actual concrete results. So kudos to that whole process. Thanks.
Do any other staff have any update?
In reference to once the publication has been approved and the questions are out, I can guarantee that all of you on the board, all of the Human Relations Commission, you will all get a copy of the advertisement so that you can disperse it as well amongst your social circles. And then we will be working with Faith for Hope and One Fargo and those organizations and a multitude of others to ensure that we get as many qualified applicants onto this board as possible. So anticipate that coming as soon as the final questionnaire has been approved. And then second, last month we talked about our open application process for the police academy that has since closed. We had about just a little over 90 applicants for about 25 to 30 spots that will make it into our summer academy. That's actually low compared to last year, but we are still very excited about receiving 90, and they are going through that filtering process and will be invited into the academy, which will start in the middle of May. So we're excited about that, and we appreciate any passing that along and posting and recruiting that you may have assisted us with. So we really appreciate your collaboration on that.
Thank you. Any question, members? Do we have any announcements?
Mr. Chair, just for a moment, I'd like to, it's the end of the year, and it's important we thank all of you for your public service, for your commitment to bettering our community, for everything you do, and for all of your outreach. It's not like you get paid a lot, but we really do need to acknowledge what you do, and it's important. So thank you very sincerely, and happy holidays to everybody. Look forward to next year with Dr. Hogan on board, so that we can really set some new strides going forward. But again, your work is really important, and it's appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. I noticed, Jamie, just know that we've had dialogue in the past about firefighter recruitment as well, and I was wondering if, like, you've had those events and how that's going in terms of diversity.
That ours is also closed. I think we have a pool of 15 applicants. It's going to be an ongoing thing the next several years. I know we're looking at another station, Station 8. So I'm going to be coming again next fall and trying to see if we can get help again in bringing as many applicants in as we can. So yeah, the list is set, and the chief will be making decisions.
Okay.
And I don't have demographic information on the pool.
Okay.
I personally don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does Fargo have the demographic pool on their applicants?
For probably haven't been narrowed down. Eventually, we will get the demographic of those who make it into the academy.
Thank you.
Is there any other businesses? Hearing none, the meeting of Human Relations Commission stand adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 20th at noon. Thank you, everyone.